We are live. Welcome to the Confidence Coaching Clinic. We're live on YouTube. We usually come every Tuesday night at 9 o'clock, but this week we're coming on Monday because I'm traveling to California. I'm speaking on Tuesday, I'm speaking on Wednesday, and I won't be here on Tuesday evening to go live, but the Confidence Coaching Clinic, we're here every single week, live stream. Please join us. For those of you who might not follow me on YouTube, hit the subscribe button so you can get alerts when we go live. And we're on romemadison.com. Anywhere you find and follow my stuff, from there you can go to any of my social media platforms. The biggest hurdle to your fulfillment, the biggest hurdle to the life that you want to live, the biggest hurdle to you reaching out and grabbing that life, those dreams, those goals that you really want, is not the people standing in your way. It's not the market conditions, the economy. It's none of that stuff. You know what the biggest obstacle for you to live a life that you want, live a life of fulfillment, live a life of meaning? It's not that you need more confidence to go after it. It's your own complacency. You're complacent. You good. But I got news for you. Good is the enemy of great. What we do here is help you to master the skill of activating your confidence, to influence, persuade, and focus when it matters most, when the heat is on, when the stakes are high. Anybody can have confidence, and you do have confidence. You were born with confidence. Everyone has confidence. It's usually just buried under layers of self-doubt. You have confidence when you're doing something that you're an expert at, doing something that you're proficient at. But people don't like to do new things because it makes them nervous. They don't like to do new things because they don't feel confident. And as a result, we get lulled into this numb state of mediocrity. As long as you have your creature comforts, your toys, you're good. You know, when I was a kid, I believed that anything was possible. And I don't recall anybody telling me that anything was possible. I was just born with that innate ability, and I think that all children are. Think about it. When a baby is born, everything it sees you do, a baby believes it can do it as well. It doesn't matter what language you speak. It starts making noises trying to communicate with you. Hey, man, I'm hungry. Where'd mom go with the milk trucks? They see you walking, they go from wiggling and scooting to crawling. They go from crawling to walking, walking to running, they're off to the races. And then it happens. We start to tell them no. We give them our beliefs, our fears. We put that onto our children. And they start to learn by the time that they're 5 years old, when they were born with unlimited potential, unlimited possibilities that did not fit into a box. Our beliefs become their limitations. And those limitations become the walls of their comfort zone that they live in and stay in to keep us comfortable. Not necessarily for the child. It's to keep parents comfortable. And our fears as parents that we put onto our children become the windows through which they see the world. And it changes what once was a belief that anything was possible to a belief that they must stay in that box and be safe. And so to satiate that fear, because it doesn't feel right, we still have, the desire to break out and do things. We're not necessarily happy with being put into the box, but we're convinced that it's safe. And the fear of getting outside the box, to satiate that fear, we become accepting and complacent that whatever lot that we've been handed in life is just where we are and the way it's meant to be. Because it hurts to believe that you can do anything else, that you can change it, and that it can be different. It's painful to do that because we got to break through the walls that the people who love us help put up, which is our comfort zone. And when you become complacent, and when we feel that fear that makes us unsettled, unsatisfied, instead of doing something and taking up that responsibility for ourselves, we stay in that state of complacency and we get mad at other people. If it wasn't for my parents, if I had a different set of parents, I'd be in a better situation. If it wasn't for my teachers or my school, because she flunked me and she don't like me, we would be doing something different. Sometimes we blame God. God, why'd you make me like this? If you'd only given me this that my brother has, if you'd only made me like this, I wouldn't feel so insignificant. You're unsatisfied because you are unfulfilled. And even though you were born with unlimited potential, you voluntarily numb yourself emotionally into complacency. I don't know if this is hitting anybody out there. Those who probably not hitting, they probably left, or those who are just too painful and can't admit that they're complacent and still pointing the finger at somebody else. They probably left this conversation by now. But there is good news. The world that we live in tries to put us in a box so many different ways. Even though we're placed in that box with care by the people who raise us as their best attempt to love us and put labels on us that become our limitations, even as we grow, we are further we are tried people, even though when we grow and we learn and evolve and start to break out of that pattern of complacency, even a little bit, advertisers, politicians, our parents, our schools, our churches. Somebody want to have that conversation. Somebody don't want to hear that, right? They try to place labels on us to define us. You are this denomination versus that denomination. You are middle class versus living in poverty. You are college degree. You are professional. You have a white collar job and not a blue collar job. You live in certain neighborhoods that when people ask you where you live, you are sure to say, I live in this neighborhood, because it recognizes that the other person might recognize what that label makes you. Your kids go to certain schools. Some people look at that as a country club because they want their kids to be in certain schools because they aspire to be around certain people, or they want their kids to grow up around certain people. The world tries to put us in a box. The tragedy of that is allowing other people to define you can make you miss out on exploring your potential and not tap into that part of you that is designed to create abundance and significance in your life. Your potential cannot fit into a box. I've spoken at corporations, ministries, I've spoken to colleges, spoken in prisons. And you know what all of these different groups have in common is I got to learn from them and understand what they aspire to. There's a common thread with all of these folks. They all want more out of life than where they are at that time. And that's not to say that they are unfulfilled, but even those who are fulfilled, even those who are doing meaningful work, they still want more. I'm here to tell you that good is the enemy of great. You ask somebody how you doing? I'm good. I'm good. People don't improve because they are good. They feel they've already mastered or have a certain proficiency in something, and they feel they're good at it, so they don't practice it anymore. They don't try to do new things that they're not good at because they lean on what they are good at, and they become complacent. What happens is a lot of times we look into our past for evidence that we can do more, have more, be more in life. And even though you have plenty of victories that demonstrate that you do have that ability, what we tend to focus in on and over index on are the failures. We dwell on the disappointments of times that we did not take action, or because we felt inferior to the dream or to the vision. And as a result, when we once tried to take a risk and people started to chatter, you weren't skilled in activating your confidence and you went back to your comfort zone. And the danger of that is when you do that, you become a commodity, which is you're like everybody else. And you're not born that way. You are special. You're different than everybody else. There is a calling on your life. And while it's natural for us to become complacent because the struggle is uncomfortable, it's not about success necessarily. It's about significance, because you can define success any way you want to. But I'm here to tell you the pursuit of things is not the end goal. Doing something significant that means something to somebody else, to inspire something, is the highest calling of your life. It's not about success, it's about significance. It's not about money, because money comes and goes. If you don't know that by now, like my Paw Jackson said, keep living. Money comes and goes. You can make a lot of money and there can be none tomorrow. So instead of money, you want meaning, because there's no end to chasing a dollar. What I believe in is making a dollar and a difference. Because most of you, if we're honest, you would probably trade your salary or even make less if you can do what you truly wanted to do that brought you meaning and fulfillment. We're all seeking fulfillment in life. And it's not that you need more confidence to achieve that fulfillment in your life. You just need to recognize your own complacency. You cannot be complacent. So here's some three things that you can take action on that'll shake you out of your complacency. What enables, when you think about the people who are in the best in the world of what they do, whether it's sports, whether it is business, ministry, playing instruments, music. The people who are the best in the world at what they do, generally speaking, have a high level of discipline and commitment to what they do. You think about a boxer, like a fighter, like when you're in a fight, you can't be complacent. It's the same thing with us. This is the biggest fight of your life, is your level of complacency. But you know what conquers complacency? Usually people have to be jolted out of their comfort zone. They have to be pushed out of their comfort zone. But you know the difference between them and those who are the best in the world at what they do, how they get out of being complacent is discipline. And people don't like that word because it brings negative connotations. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is your friend. The antidote to complacency is discipline. So I'm here to help you with the fight of your life, because your biggest hurdle to fulfillment in the life that you want is not that you need more confidence, it's that you need to recognize your own complacency. You can't be complacent. So the first thing you need to do is you need discipline with your vision. Many times you see or you want or you have this feeling, and you've always had it. The vision or the dream doesn't go away. You have to, suppress it and allow yourself to become complacent, to ignore that it's there. The biggest thing is when you have that vision, sometimes it's painful because it brings negative feelings that you haven't done it or that you failed before in trying to do it. Most people that I've spoken to seem to focus on the things that they want when it comes to their vision. They use goals and money and accoutrements, trophies, toys as benchmarks for success because that guides their activity. And listen, goals are important. If they inspire you to not be complacent and move, that is a positive thing. But goals are not transformative. Goals tend to be performative. Here's why. I used to think that my goals, my vision, my goals were the vision. I used to think that my goals were the vision, the stuff, the accomplishments, the skins on the wall that made my life enjoyable. And as I continue to reach those goals and get those things, all I wanted was something else after a while. Because once you got it, what do? It wasn't about the money. It was about meaning. Meaning is what brings fulfillment. Getting a car just meant that I made enough money to buy the car. But in and of itself, it wasn't fulfilling. Your vision is not your stuff. Vision is how you see yourself. As you move into this year, do all you can do to stay focused on who you want to become. Les Brown said, you don't get in life what you want, you get in life what you are. Here's a question to ask yourself. Who is the person you see yourself being a year from now? What's the difference between that version of you and who you are today? How much more courageous is that person? How much more skilled? How much more passionate? How much smarter is that person than the person you are today? What can that version of you, that future version of you, do or accomplish that you cannot do or accomplish today? If you stay disciplined with your vision, how can you do that? Vision boards, yes. Even if you do write goals that aspire you, the reason people don't reach their goals is because they don't take them serious. They don't read them. So a good way to stay disciplined with your vision is to write it down and then read it every day. Take 5 minutes. Just read it, because your mind goes to work subconsciously on making the universe align to what you need it to be so you can grow into that person that you see in your vision. Stay disciplined on what you see. Speak to that person that you see. How would that person do the things that you need to do today? If you can ask yourself that daily, you'll start to walk like that person. You'll start to talk like that person. And eventually, the people around you will start to respond to you as that person. And before you know it, you have achieved the things that that person can achieve. Stay disciplined on becoming the person that no one can be but you to bring about the life that you want. No one can do that but you, because that person is one of a kind and cannot be duplicated and not be commoditized. But that person ain't complacent. That person knows it took some struggle and effort to get there, and it's a daily process. Go to iwantmorenow.com and receive 2 books. Claim your star power. 4 steps to start where you are and achieve superstar success. And then you can also get my latest audiobook, Everyday Star Power, the 12-step confidence algorithm. You can go there right now and get those free resources. Step 2 for conquering your complacency is to be disciplined with your effort. Keep learning, keep evolving, keep challenging yourself to grow and improve with your knowledge and skills, even if you've already accomplished significant things. There is no limit to your potential in what you can do and the impact and the legacy that you will leave. When you're squarely focused on who you are today and who you need to become to accomplish the things that you want in life, your decisions and actions come easier, and eventually you find yourself in a category all by yourself. I love this story. Now, for those of you who are Apple fans, I even hate to give him credit, because I was that guy who, I'm just not going to just buy all the same tools just because. 10 years later, I got all the same stuff. Apple, all right? I got an iPhone. Steve Jobs was one of the most innovative leaders that ever lived. His vision when he started Apple in the early 1980s, he and Steve Wozniak, was to be the most innovative technology company who made beautiful products that improved the lives of people who used them. They wanted to be different. But the reason they struggled is because they were caught in the trap of comparison. They were not the leader in their day. Macintosh computers were not the leader in their day. IBM, there's many others that were leaders in that industry. So Apple struggled. Apple struggled so much that the board at Apple fired Steve Jobs in 1985 because they got caught up in the trap of comparison. And even though they wanted to make differentiated products, they didn't focus on being unique and special. They became complacent in that race to innovate, took their eye off the ball, and accepted the limitations that said, you can't do that. You need to chase where the market is today and go compete over there with these folks. So Steve Jobs was fired. But here's the thing. He didn't get complacent. He was disciplined on the effort of his mission to continue to build beautiful products that improve the lives of people that use them. So what did he do? So he goes and buys Pixar. He bought Pixar, which was the computer graphics division of Lucasfilm, titled after George Lucas, who was the creator of the Star Wars series and many other films. but he bought Pixar at the time for around $5 million in 1986. Everyone knows what Pixar is today, but it wasn't until 1995 that they actually became successful and they got a distribution deal with Disney, and their first film was Toy Story in 1995. Took $30 million to make that movie. Toy Story grossed over $350 million in 1995. That $5 investment, $5 million investment into Pixar that Steve Jobs made after he was fired from Apple because he did not become complacent on his effort. Doesn't matter if you lose your title or your job. What are you doing? What are you developing? Don't become complacent. Here's another thing. What's interesting, and I don't know, I'm sure most people know this, but 10 years after Apple fired Steve Jobs and he went off because he wasn't complacent and he stayed disciplined to the effort of what he wanted to do, got focused. Apple bought the company, Pixar, and its parent company Next, which is the parent company that Steve Jobs created to buy Pixar. They bought it for $400 million in 1996. He became the CEO again in 1997. He didn't need more confidence. He already had confidence. He realized his biggest enemy was going to be complacency. The third thing that is really, really important to not get trapped by your own complacency is to be disciplined with the fundamentals of your craft. You want to be a master of your craft. You don't want to be just good at it. You got to be brilliant with the basics. You got to be comfortable with the boring, mundane, daily repetition of mastering a skill or attaining knowledge. I love this quote from 50 Cent, Curtis Jackson, but the world obviously knows him as 50 Cent. 50 Cent wrote a book with Robert Greene, who was the author of the 48 Laws of Power, and together they wrote the 50th Law. I love like Curtis Jackson. I don't care too much for 50 Cent the rapper, but I love Curtis Jackson. Just what he's done in his lifetime, coming from where he has. But this quote is really, really powerful, and it comes from that book, The 50th Law. He says, the fools in life want what's fast and easy. Boredom is their great enemy. By the way, when people get bored, that's when they start doing drugs. That's when they start addictive behaviors because they don't have anything else that they aspire to. They become complacent, and that's part of the process of lulling yourself, numbing yourself to sleep, to make it okay that you're unsatisfied because you're unfulfilled. The fools in life want things fast and easy. Boredom is their great enemy. You must learn early on to endure the hours of practice and drudgery, knowing that in the end, all of that time will translate into a higher pleasure. Mastery of your craft and mastery of yourself. Consistency. You've got to be disciplined with the fundamentals. If you want the life that you aspire to have and you want to break out of that fog of complacency because you are unsatisfied and you are unfulfilled. Now, if you find doing what you're doing, I'm sure you're not listening to this podcast anymore. This is for the people who who are shaking in their boots right now because they know there is more for them than what they have and where they are today. You got to be disciplined with the fundamentals and become a master of your craft. Force yourself to use your gifts, your knowledge more often and in a larger capacity. If you think about the people who are the best in the world at what they do, I think we already said this in this conversation, but everybody at the top of their profession who is considered a master at what they do, I don't care if it's sports, I don't care if it's music, I don't care if it's business, they all had a coach. They all had somebody that was more than a mentor. They had a coach. Steve Jobs had Larry Page and Bill Campbell. LeBron James had coaches his whole life. People call him the greatest of all time. He plays for the Lakers. He still has a coach. So what is it going to be for you? Are you complacent? Are you unsatisfied because you're unfulfilled? What are you going to do about it? My suggestion is you run this podcast back and take action on those 3 steps. And what can you do each day? Asking yourself this question, keeping in mind the person that you need to be to create the life that you ultimately want to create. How would the person I would like to be do the things I'm about to do today? How would the person I would like to be do the things I would like to do today? If you ask yourself that question, you will recognize that you don't need more confidence. You just need to get out of your own comfort zone and stop being complacent. We'll see you next week.